authors come in, 4 authors leave in a different order. This game is now played at conventions across the world. It's become a thing science fiction and fantasy audiences do. So, for a start, and I'll explain a little as we go, you're probably aware of just a minute, but I'll give you a few explanations. I'd like you to welcome our Dolly scorer, the editor of SFX, Mr. Dave Bradley. Dave will be making sure that our contestants don't go on for over a minute. So it'll be like your general SFX interview, really. He'll also be making sure the points are kept accurately. So, let's welcome our contestants. From the top, ladies and gentlemen, give a warm welcome to Gritty Joe Abercrombie. Do I have to say his name? China Syndrome Mieville. Sarah, a matter of blood, Pinborough. And last but not least, Toby, Werewolf versus Vampires Whithouse.
Is that working? Huh. We who are about to die, salute you.
Now, the aim of just a minute is to talk in hopefully a witty fashion for 1 minute on a subject I'll give them, without hesitation, deviation, or repetition. That is, they're not allowed to go they're not allowed to leave little gaps and pauses, they're not allowed to deviate from the subject, and that includes saying, I don't know anything about this subject, that's deviation. And repetition, they're only allowed to repeat the smallest words, words like a, the, and, things like that. There's no
Like, oh shit, no, I meant this. Is that it?
Repetition.
It's going to be one of those.
You can do it. Shit's in the title. You can do it.
I love the fact, Pinborough, that was your first word on the panel. Has that ever happened before?
It really wasn't my first word in my head.
Okay, so we'll go from this end.
No, you promised me the other end. Oh.
I won't be the one deciding whether or not the other players have infringed. These people will be doing it to each other.
Well,
it's been a dream of mine for some time to sit alongside Jamie in this capacity.
No, really, save me.
And
that's where repetition comes in handy. Oh yeah, I will.
Let's try all your lights. Try your lights. Excellent. Okay, I feel like a school headmaster. Try your lights, boys, try your lights. So, I'll be asking Joe, could you begin an attempt to speak for 1 minute without hesitation, deviation, or repetition on the subject of urban fantasy? Urban fantasy.
Urban fantasy is one of those recently developed genres that I cannot help but feel masquerades as the genuine article, because when I think of fantasy fiction, I imagine proudly swords, magic bladed weapons, dragons, unicorns, knights riding towards a proud future, leading a charge.
China?
Abercrombie is doing far too well at this. So, deviation from the natural order of things.
I don't think I can allow that point to Joe for an incorrect challenge. And Joe continues the subject with 36 seconds to go on listing things in urban fantasy from now.
Leading a charge against the forces of darkness. However, in urban fantasy, we, the readers, are invited to attend to
China?
That was hesitation.
It certainly was. There was an there. So China gets a point for a correct interruption.
Fix
And
up.
China, you have 23 seconds remaining on the subject of urban fantasy, starting now.
Catargo delenda est. These were
Joe?
deeply irritating. Yeah, I have to cop to that, to be fair.
Yeah, but incredibly, we don't have deeply irritating as a category in just a minute, so that gives China a point for an incorrect challenge, and China now has 19 seconds on the subject of urban fantasy, starting now.
As Cato the Elder said during the Punic Wars, what is the point of this anecdote I hear everyone in this fantastic hall asking, and I shall tell you the answer to that question, which I feel awash over me in waves of interrogation. And the answer is well, are you playing? Sorry. Because I see 4 buzzers, not 500. So...
Okay. So, I heard it, the audience heard it, but you guys waited until the minute had actually stopped before mentioning.
I was just thinking about how deeply irritating it was.
Could you talk about the big dumb object for a minute, starting now?
Also sprach Zarathustra. These words are, of course, as everybody knows, Nietzsche's. But the relevance here is for the block upon the moon in the film too. Sarah?
I just don't understand anything he's saying.
I'm not sure I do either, but that's still not within the rules. So, point to China. You're going to win through this, aren't you? It's a new one.
I'm going to win through sheer juggernaut of irritation.
Okay. You have another 47 seconds on the subject of big dumb object, starting now.
2001, A Space Odyssey. Upon the moon appears an extraordinary rectangle of some sort of magical obsidian. This is, in some ways, the paradigm, the zenith of the big dumb object, the telos, if you will, of the trope, and I will. The apotheosis of this notion within the fiction and the field which we in this room love so well, and with such fervour and grandeur and rigour and vigour and passion and... Well, that's clearly deviation.
Yes, I think it was deviation. He went... Yes.
I've lost the room, haven't I?
Good lord, somebody scored a point through conventional means. So, point to Joe Abercrombie, who has 15 seconds on the subject of big dumb object, starting now.
When I think of a big dumb object, I think not of China Bayville, but of a space station, or perhaps no small moon. When that phrase is used, what is brought to my mind is that huge and fully...
Stop! And... Joe gets a point for speaking as the whistle went, and we move on to Sarah's turn, God help us, to start the minute.
Oh, crap.
Sarah,
Can you remember that I know nothing about fantasy, science fiction, anything therein? Can we do shoes? In fact, I don't know much about shoes. We can't talk about that, it's a family show. Something nice and fluffy, a cat. Can I talk about cats? Shall I shut up and let you speak? I've done a minute.
Deviation.
Sarah, I'd like you to talk for a minute on the subject of, let's say, giants. Giants.
Well, giants are quite important to me because, contrary to popular opinion, size is actually quite a big thing to a lady. Therefore, although they exist in fiction, I do believe they are always a metaphor, or in fact a euphemism, for a boy part at any point in time when I read about them. This makes much fantasy literature far more... Oh crap, I was going to say interesting.
Hesitation, point to China for a correct interruption, and I was wondering where that was going, honestly. 33 seconds on the subject of giants, starting now.
Giants are distinguished by their bizarre choice of habitat, such as at the top of an enormous stalk of vegetation grown through questionable means by some beams. Rhyming seems to have done me quite well in this so far. I thought I would go for another. Jack, the giant killer, gives us the notion that for any person with that name should be avoided if one is indeed a giant. The person who puts that...
Oh, I saw Toby just first. Toby.
Oh God, I've accidentally got myself in the game there. Person, repetition of person.
Repetition of person indeed. Point to Toby for a correct challenge. And you have 3 seconds on the subject.
All right, just on principle, you buzz on second 1, I'm buzzing on second 2, and 3. Go.
3 seconds starting now.
Giants are very well
Oh,
known.
Joe.
He works in television. Is that allowed?
We thought we'd get some minorities on it. Okay, so Joe, you give Toby a point for an incorrect challenge. And Toby now has 2 seconds on the subject of giants, starting now.
In writers such as the...
Did he get any time? No, he didn't. China, you actually did buzz there.
I did. Well, we had an arrangement, second 1, second 2. And so I want a point for solidarity. I wasn't really listening. Did he hesitate?
Toby gets another point for an incorrect challenge. And has 1 second on the subject of giants, starting now.
One for the team.
Fables such as the Brothers Grimm.
I'm afraid that it actually clicked to 0 before you hit.
Some men are so quick.
Toby gets a point for speaking